What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay. Here to talk a little Packers, a little Jaguars as we get ready to head into the weekend. Hope everybody had an awesome work week. I know there's some people might be hearing my voice right now that are winding the work week down. We made it, boys and girls. We made it. Tim, how you doing today, bub?
Feeling good, feeling great. Blessed to be here. Hopefully it's not a trap game on Sunday and our boys do what they're supposed to do. Feeling good, man. How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing great, man. Couldn't be better. Beautiful weather. We're mid-70s down here. The leaves are already falling, rustling around. Getting ready for the trick-or-treaters this Thursday night, man. I love October. It doesn't get any better, man.
Yes, my favorite time of year, man.
Definitely. It also doesn't get any better than getting your Packers tickets over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 1992, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description. That'll send you to theticketking.com where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. All right, Tim. So what I thought we would do today is just kind of dive into a little bit of the week preview across the NFL. Once you get, 6-7 weeks into the season, you can really start to look at the playoff picture, see which teams you start to root against. And if you approach it this way, the reason I do this every year is it makes every other game in the league that much more enjoyable, where you can actually, okay, here's how it ties into the Green Bay Packers and them in the standings, all that good stuff. So that's the reason I like to dive into it. Now, first things first, why don't we look at the Vikings game from last night? I grabbed the box score. Obviously, they dropped their second game in a row here, losing to the LA Rams 30-20. You guys, I'm sure, have seen the face mask, the no-call face mask that was all over Twitter earlier today. That's right. Obviously, it was a face mask that didn't get called. You're still down by 10 points. You're in your own end zone. Let's not sit here and pretend like that face mask is the reason you lost. So I just simply said, great no call. Good evening, everyone. And put skull. And I had my man Billy Crystal holding the old handkerchief like here.
Yeah. Cry more.
Exactly. And that's exactly how the Vikings fans obviously would have responded to us Packer fans if we were complaining about the face mask call. And newsflash, if that happened to the Packers, I would be complaining about the no face mask call.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, add it to the list of no calls that we see all the time, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. So just to kind of look at that game, obviously Minnesota came out hot. They were up 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. And then, of course, the LA Rams tied it up before halftime. And then kind of ran away with it from there on out. What you're noticing here with Brian Flores' defense is it seems like teams in the second half really figure him out. You've seen the Packers do that. So I don't know if it's a lack of adjustment on their part or if it's real simple that teams just kind of figure it out and throw the throttle down losing. It's almost one of those things where their defense is really good if it's a close game. But as soon as they get up to a little bit of a lead, it's almost like teams are no longer scared to throw on the Vikings, and that tends to get them back in the game. But nonetheless, man, Darnold had a decent day, 18-25, 240 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones is the stat I wanted to show right here, 19 carries, only 58 yards. So the LA Rams, that's important in my opinion when we get ready to face the Vikings. You want to go back to that Rams tape and go, okay, what did they do to stop Aaron Jones, right? They put that on tape. So anytime you got a game like this where a player struggles, obviously you want to focus on that. And then maybe even take a little something away from the fact that Justin Jefferson had 8 catches on 9 targets for 115 yards. What they were doing with him was obviously working in that game. But
I think my favorite Justin Jefferson highlight of the night was him slamming his helmet in frustration. Again, Packer fans can really appreciate that. We've been there before. And like you said, skull, cry more.
Exactly, man. So obviously this NFC North race is going to get even tighter now as we come down the stretch. Let me pop that down here on my notes. And the biggest thing looking at this Vikings loss is who they lost in this game. Adam Schefter tweeted out just a few minutes ago before we went live, about an hour before we went live. Tests today revealed that Vikings standout left tackle Christian Darrisaw is going to need season-ending knee surgery. per source, another loss on top of Thursday nights. So obviously, you never root for injuries. I don't care how much you hate the team. But
Yep.
the reality is Christian Darrisaw is a solid left tackle, one of the best in the game, in my opinion. I feel safe saying he's top 10. He's definitely starting caliber. There's no two ways about that. They have one of the best tackle tandems in all the entire National Football League. So it's going to be a huge blow for them. And it is worth noting that, hey, look, maybe Bradford, or I always want to say Bradford, maybe Darnold, won't have as much time to sit in that pocket and pick defenses apart. But Tim, it's a tough loss for the Vikings. But man, there's no two ways about it. It helps the Packers.
Yeah, and you're right. That's the only way we really look at it, right? A technical standpoint. We're not going to sit here and, no matter how much I hate Vikings fans and the Vikings and anything purple and gold, I'm not going to root for a guy to be hurt. I'm sorry. And you know what? That's what makes us better than Vikings fans, in my opinion, because when Anthony Barr ended Aaron Rodgers' season a few years back, I don't even want to talk about what was being talked about from Skull Nation. But I will say this: it does make a difference for this divisional matchup that we're going to have later this year with the Vikings, and that game could be for a lot more than we think right now, the way things are panning out. So it's okay, it's fair to look at it, like I said, from a technical or a football side, like, hey, they're missing their top left tackle. But other than that, I'm not gonna root for that. Hopefully he recovers okay, and this is not a career-altering type injury for another great player in the NFL.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, it's not career-threatening, but it definitely hurts the Vikings' chances a little bit here for the remainder of the season. Ron Stanville in the chat says losing Darrisaw was much worse than losing that game. I completely agree, and you hear people talk like you opened up the show talking about a trap game, Tim. And it's a real thing. I'm not saying it's not a real thing, but you hear people kind of picking at LaFleur that he's like, no, this is a good game. It ain't a trap game. They're a good team. From a fan standpoint, I agree with you. But I love that the coaching staff, and they're looking at every game like, look, man, you've got to be prepared. If you slip up just a touch, you can get boat raced by the worst team in the league. That's just the way it works.
Yep.
So when you're getting ready to go down here and play the Jacksonville Jaguars, you've got to be mentally prepared. You got to treat this as if you're playing the Vikings again, or you're playing the Lions, or one of the best teams in the league. Because if you don't, man, all it takes is a little bit of momentum going against you, and things can go really off the rails. And when you look at the upcoming week, I'm excited, man. It just seems like every week of the NFL, the closer we get to the playoffs, it gets even more exciting with the games that are going on around the league. I want to give a shout out to Nerding on NFL. Make sure you go give them a follow. They do this graphic every week, and we always hit on it. So I thought, why don't we just kind of do a Week 8 preview real quick here on this Friday afternoon as we get ready to go to Friday Night Lights here in just a little bit. Obviously, the LA Rams upset the Minnesota Vikings last night. So that's going to shake up the standings there just a touch as the Vikings now drop to 5-2, the same record as the Packers currently. In the 1 o'clock hour, you've got the Jets at the Patriots. You got the Ravens at the Browns, the Colts at the Texans, the Eagles at the Bengals. You've got the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then the Tennessee Titans at the Detroit Lions. Of course, Green Bay at Jacksonville in that 12 Central, 1 o'clock Eastern window. And then the Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins for that 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. And I want to just point out a few games here, Tim. Obviously, you got the standings there in the middle of this graphic as well. Couple big games in this 1 o'clock, really 3 games in this 1 o'clock window that's going to play a big role in the Packers season. You notice Philadelphia, they're sitting at 4-2. They're going into Cincinnati to face the Bengals there with that 1 o'clock kickoff. And, man, if the Bengals can get a dub there, what you're looking at, guys, as you go across this entire graphic, you want to look at the second-place teams because there's a good chance that all 4 of the NFC North teams could make the playoffs. Now, it's still early. Obviously, we're not even to the halfway point. But the Eagles sitting at 4-2, I'm definitely going to be a Bengals fan there on Sunday, Tim. We want the Bengals to knock the Eagles off, send them down to 4-3, and then let the Packers just continue to do their thing, man. We want as much security as possible for a playoff berth. It's never too early to start looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're an NFC North fan, right? Like, we could make history, get all 4 NFC North teams into the playoffs in theory this year. So, yeah, absolutely. We're all Bengals fans with quotations around it. on Sunday, just like we were all Rams fans last night. So I'm with it.
Yeah, another game that's going to be fun to watch, I think, is the NFC South matchup here between the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be a 1:00 kickoff down there in Tampa. And the reason it's intriguing to me is because these two teams have the same exact record. They're both sitting at 4-3, and they're somewhat tied for first place. The Falcons have the tiebreaker currently. So the winner of that game is obviously going to take over the NFC South currently, and the team that loses is now going to be sitting there with 4 losses. Yep. So you're feeling really
playoffs. Don't talk about.
You're feeling really good, man. We ain't seen that in a minute. I love it. You're feeling really good there about the second place team in the NFC South not really being too much of a problem for the Packers as long as we take care of business there too. So Atlanta at Tampa, man, that's going to be a cool little matchup. Maybe we'll get a little bit of weather. I'm not sure what the forecast is down there in Florida, but that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Baker Mayfield's got a lot to prove right now at this point. And, it could be a pivotal, like you said, a pivotal game right there in the South and pivotal in the NFC playoff picture as a whole. And it's like, the more we look at this and break it down and look at, like I said before, like our division right now, man, we just got to keep our work in front of us. I talked about a trap game, on Sunday, just because I want to see how far along this young team is matured, because maybe that Packers team last year, maybe they go down to Jacksonville and drop that game. I like to believe that this year we don't. We take care of business because every win matters. Every loss matters right now. We're getting to that point in the season where, our bye week is coming up soon. We've got huge divisional games to deal with and a playoff push. And we're not the only team in the NFC with that same kind of MO right now. So I think it's important that we just focus on what we can control, which is winning every game that's in front of us. Especially against teams that we should beat. Like you said, man, we never want to, down talk an opponent. You're not going to hear an NFL coach say that. Even the worst team in the league, they're not going to just bash them. But when it comes to guys executing on the field and players and their attitude on a road trip down to Florida, that can be a different thing. So I just hope our boys play discipline and we take care of business.
Yeah. AFAM in the chat says Baker Mayfield is nothing without Godwin. If you guys didn't see that horrific injury, I think it was an ankle injury, if I remember correctly, to Chris Godwin down there for Tampa Bay. With that injury kind of taking place, it almost has me rooting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go ahead and give the Falcons an extra loss here, because you don't really like Tampa's chances with the injuries they have to that wide receiver room. Obviously, Mike Evans had been battling injuries. I'm not even sure how long he's out. He may be returning this week. And then, of course, like AFAM says here, Chris Godwin needing a new tire. No doubt that's gonna hurt for sure. And I believe there was. Yeah, Ron Sample says there was a $16,000 fine for that hip drop tackle that injured him. And that's anybody who says, the hip drop tackle, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. That's textbook what the league is trying to coach out of the game. And when you hear defensive coaches in the offseason step up and go, yeah, it's intentionally being used to hurt people, then basically they had evidence, and they didn't give any specific names, but the league had evidence that coaches were teaching, do that because you can snap an ankle. It's just like the old horse collar that they had to take out of the game. So I know we don't want more rules. I'm with you on that. Everybody out there hearing my voice right now is probably shaking their head going, I'm tired of them softening the game and this and that. But yeah, they're hoping to coach it out of the game. Right. So these penalties aren't going to be huge. And I think that's why it's more of a fine than a penalty right now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just like lowering the crown of the helmet, right? The old hard nose era, you got to call the helmet to helmet now. They've coached heads up football for the better part of at least a decade now, from youth all the way up to the pro level. And you have to develop and coach these type of things out of the game. I'm in that camp, Clayton. I'm the first guy that loves defense and loves smash mouth football, but intentional or not, a hip drop tackle increases the likelihood of, like, let's be real, ending somebody's career. You can end somebody's entire career with a tackle like that. Just like you can't come high on the quarterback now, right? Well, you can't go low on the quarterback either anymore. But
you can't do anything.
Anyway, you get what I'm saying. I'm all for taking the approach that the league is taking right now, because they're throwing flags on it. The fines are starting to come. We're developing and coaching this out of the game slowly but surely. This is just part of the process. You're going to have fines and you're going to have flags for things like that. As long as it's balanced, the one thing, you talk about the hitting the quarterback, you hate to see the roughing the passer call when it's clearly not roughing the passer. And then, you'll see clear roughing the passers and they miss it. So I think if the league can make a commitment to being consistent here with enforcement, maybe some fans in my camp will probably will complain a little less, but you never know, right?
Definitely. And again, guys, this awesome graphic we're using was tweeted out by Nerding on NFL. Go find them on Twitter, on X. Give them a follow, all that good stuff. They're awesome, awesome follow. One of my favorites here on social media. Another game to watch out for there in that 12 Central, 1 o'clock Eastern hour, Tim, is the Tennessee Titans at the Detroit Lions. Listen, I know everybody's going, yeah, okay. Like the Titans have a shot of winning that game. We just talked about it, man. Any given Sunday, right? And it's at Detroit. I know. I think they just traded D-Hop, so he's now with the Chiefs, so they're down another weapon there. But just something to keep an eye on there is Detroit is obviously sitting there at 5-1. If they move on to 6-1, I really think there's a chance that the Packers and the Lions have a chance to kind of separate themselves from everyone else in the North as we move forward. As the Bears have a tough game this week too, we'll get to in just a second. So
I'll be at the game coming up November 3rd. That could be pivotal divisional matchup at Lambeau, Packers Lions. This Tennessee Titan Detroit Lion matchup could be our division rivals trap game right there. Like you just said, Clayton, you take no opponent for granted in this league, any given Sunday mentality. So I guess we're Titans fans on Sunday as well.
Absolutely. And Tim, I'm sure you've already heard, man, but looks like against the Lions here, we're going with the 1950s classics, bro.
You know it.
I love that the Packers are throwing even more, like I thought they'll just do that color rush and they probably won't go back to the 50s classics. I would like to see them do 4 or 5 different types of uniforms a year. I think it just adds a little more juice to the stadium, as Coach LaFleur says, man. You excited about seeing the 1950s classic jersey?
Yeah, man. I only have the hat. I've got a good 50s throwback winter hat. I do have a jersey, but I won't be wearing that jersey when I'm in attendance because that jersey belongs to a player who plays for another team in the league who shall remain nameless right now. But maybe I'll get me a hoodie, Clayton, get a 50s throwback hoodie or something. But, I love it. The young portion of the fan base loves the uniform game, and kudos to the Packers. When it comes to the all whites that we've done, the 50s throwbacks, we've gotten away from our 1921, the dark navy with the old leatherneck look. Throwbacks. I'm sure those will come back at some point in the future, but the 50s classics look clean, man. Looks awesome. It's the green and gold. What more could you want? And I'm just lucky I'll be at another throwback game here in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun, man, for sure. I think there is some extra juice in the stadium when they break out the alternate jerseys. But
absolutely.
So obviously you got the Packers at the Jaguars. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll do a little preview if we have time. Other 1 o'clock or 12 Central window, the Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins. And then you shift your focus to the 4 o'clock window. Okay. You got the Saints at the Chargers. You got the Bills at the Seahawks. So there's an NFC team. The Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West, sitting at 4-3. I think it's safe to say you should pull for the Bills there because you can never get too many losses on some of these NFC teams that might sneak up and be end up. Let's say the Cardinals or the 49ers sneak up and they take over first place. Now all of a sudden you're battling with the Seahawks for one of those playoff spots, right? So definitely keep your eye on that game there. Then you got the Carolina Panthers at the Denver Broncos. That's a snooze fest. Nobody really cares. And then this is what I love. We're going to be live for the pregame show, obviously. And during the pregame show, as soon as we wrap up, then I'm going to be tuning in to the Chicago Bears, who are obviously sitting at 4-2. Listen, they're ascending, guys. You can't deny they're playing good football. Caleb Williams has gotten better every single week, it seems like, in the last 3 weeks. They're going to be going into Washington and playing that tough Commander team that's obviously led by Jaden Daniels. These were arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the draft this past April. So it's going to be really cool to see them lock horns. 4:25 kickoff. I'm sure you'll be able to find that one on TV somewhere as 2 of the more popular teams this year, at least. Washington, listen, they've been bad at football for a while. They were a horribly run organization, both morally and just strictly from a football standpoint. But people love that team. They love that. Yeah, I think some would call them wonky. Um, but people love that team. They've been popular for a long, long time. I actually, for a short stint in the late 80s, I was really young. Some of my first memories of football, I pulled for the Washington Redskins because our high school was called the Cumberland Redskins. So it's like that we had the same logo and everything, just absolutely awesome. So I remember the popularity back of Mark Rippon and Art Monk, and some of you guys are going, who the hell are you talking about, Clay? It was back in the day, but they went on a run there, won a Super Bowl with that crew there. And my point is, it's a strong fan base. It really is, and they've been looking for something to believe in. It seems like they got a solid team here. As Washington is sitting at a 5-2 record, and again, the Bears at 4-2. We're obviously pulling for the Commanders there, so we want the Commanders to knock the Bears off to help our chances of the Bears not sneaking up on us later in the season. And of course, if the Eagles drop that game we talked about in Cincinnati, they drop to 4-3. That's going to be huge, man. That's kind of the stuff we need to happen there in that 4:00 window.
Absolutely.
All right, and then you got Kansas City rounding out the 4:00 window there with they're going out to Vegas to play the Raiders. They always play the Chiefs good, but obviously it really has no bearing on the Green Bay Packers season. Now you got the Cowboys and the 49ers. That's going to be your Sunday night game of the week there on NBC right after Football Night in America. One of my favorite shows to watch. I love Football Night in America.
Yeah, for sure.
And so with the Cowboys, obviously they're struggling at 3-3. So are the 49ers at 3-4.
Means we're going to get a hell of a game on Sunday Night Football, right?
Yeah. It should be a slobber knocker. I think I'm pulling for the Niners there. I want the Cowboys to go down, to 4 losses, obviously. That's kind of how I'm looking at that. You want these teams to have as many losses across the board as evenly as possible. And then you got the Giants at the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Giants are 2-5. Really have no say in that game there. So when you look at the passing leaders, most passing yards across the league, Geno Smith still leads the league at 1,985 passing yards. Then you got Baker Mayfield second, Brock Purdy third, Kirk Cousins fourth, and Lamar Jackson fifth. Most rushing yards, top 5. Derrick Henry is now up to 873 yards rushing in second. You've got Mason from the 49ers at 667 yards. Then you got Saquon Barkley of the Eagles at 658 yards. And then our very own Josh Jacobs is fourth in the league in rushing yards at 540 yards. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry. Then you got Chuba Hubbard in fifth place there. As far as most receiving yards, Jamar Chase leads the way. Then you got Chris Godwin. You're going to see him sink out of sight with his season pretty much being over. Got DK Metcalf. That one kind of caught me by surprise. He's third in receiving yards. Nico Collins, who's now injured, obviously, he's fourth. And then Justin Jefferson's now fifth. So what you're probably going to see happen here is DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson are going to pass Godwin and Collins really, really quick. So don't look now, Tim, but Justin Jefferson all of a sudden going to be a top 3 in receiving yards once again. That dude is just what a solid player.
Yeah, I mean, I love to laugh at his pain, seeing them catch the loss and all that. But you got to respect the game, right? And I think, like you said, there's, some injuries that are going to affect the way this list looks probably. By this time next week, things will start to balance themselves out kind of with guys that aren't going to be playing. This is the first time we've looked at one of these this season and haven't seen Jaden Reed's name up there. And hopefully he goes off this Sunday and, has a couple tutters and, a couple 100 yards and works his way back into those categories. But we all know it's all about getting the dub. That's the only stat that matters. Good to see our boy Josh Jacobs still up there too. Hopefully we keep up the trend of slowly but surely utilizing him a little bit more in the run game. I think we do run the ball well when we commit to it, and you never know. This Jacksonville game could be one of those deals. Maybe we keep it on the ground, control the pace, control the tempo, establish the run, and open up things in the passing game behind Josh Jacobs this Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the most offensive yards per game. across the league. The Baltimore Ravens are first. The Lions are second. 49ers are third. Commanders are fourth. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are fifth. When you talk about the least yards allowed per game, the Titans are still first. Then the Texans, the Broncos, the Dolphins, and then the Chicago Bears, only giving up 292 yards per game. That's total yards per game. So there you go. There's your Week 8 preview across the league. Maybe some games that when the Packers aren't playing, you can kind of tune in and keep up with how it may have implications on the Packers' playoff hopes. We got Mrs. Green in the house, says, Mrs. G listening in at work. Nice early show means date night, right? There you go, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. For sure. You know, as long as she lets me go to the pro shop and get a 50s throwback for the game in a couple of months.
You just ruined it. She said, no deal. We're staying home. We're staying home, right? AFAM in the chat said, Mrs. Green, Clayton taking his woman to Red Lobster later. Nah, we're going to a ball game. We're going to be eating a cheap hot dog and hoping we don't get what they call E. coli or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's going around right now. So we'll always like a good challenge, though, man, when it comes to eating something that makes you sick. I'm that dude that's buying that gas station sushi every time. I'm like, let's go. Let's get
You're rolling the dice, huh? 50-50 shot.
Every time. Mrs. Green said, hey, fam, I've seen Tim take down over 12.5 all-you-can-eat shrimp plates. Ain't no way we could do that now in one sitting, right? In one sitting. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then, of course, she's got to deal with me afterwards, you know.
Yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
Yeah, that's the whiskey talking there, right? So there you go. So Respect Oranges in the chat says shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can boil it, broil it, bake it, saute it. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Heard it from a fan right here.
I'm not a big seafood person, Tim, but I like shrimp. I like shrimp a lot.
Yeah, I'm not a big seafood person either because it doesn't really agree with me all the time. But I'm a sucker for some good shrimp though, just like you, Clayton, man, all day.
I'll do shrimp. I'll do lobster. I'll do the crab legs. It's just fish. Fish mainly. I'm not real big into. Now there's some that's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
And when you go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, you go up north of Wisconsin, get those fish fries. That's totally different right there. You can make anything taste good, deep frying it in that batter. You know what I mean? Cold beer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know nowadays they do the baked version for all the health conscious folk out there. Myself not included, of course.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us here on this Friday afternoon. Hopefully, listen, nobody get fired, okay? Appreciate you watching the show, but let's don't get fired on Friday, all right?
If I know Mrs. Green, she's probably trying to sneak out of there a little early today.
There it is. I wonder where she gets that from. All right, so let's talk Romeo Doubs for a second. PFF Fantasy and Betting tweeted out, most contested catches in a game this season. Terry McLaurin had 5 contested catches in week 6. I think that's obviously with Washington still. Jawan, I think I'm saying that right, Jennings in week 5. I'm sorry, had 5 contested catches in week 3. And our very own Romeo Doubs is coming in 3rd place here. This past week, week 7 against the Houston Texans, he had 4 contested catches. Romeo Doubs looks like a man on a mission, Tim. I'm so excited that he's a Packer. I hope he stays a Packer. I hope this isn't something where we look up in a few months and he gets traded or something, or not a few months, but in a couple of weeks and he ends up getting traded. I hope he stays a Packer for a long time. And who knows, man, he could be that guy that gets that contract extension when you talk about him and Scoot and some of the others.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love Rome. I've been unapologetic about defending him since he got here. He's a quiet guy, just does the work. He's a team guy, regardless of what people want to say or speculate on. And, the thing I see about his role in this offense is we know, I don't want to call him a possession receiver, but he's Mr. Reliable. I mean, you talk about 3rd and whatever, you need to run a slant, you need to run an out, you need to run a post, throw it to 87, 9 out of 10 times he's coming down with it, even with sticky coverage. He's the contested catch king as far as I'm concerned, other than maybe Tucker Kraft on this offense. So, you talk about guys like Scoot, you talk about guys like Jaden Reed, Tay Wicks, your field stretchers, Bo Melton, guys that can fly. You need a guy like Romeo Doubs that, you can flex outside, you can move him into the slot, you can play him nearly anywhere in this offense and use him in a number of different ways. And he's just going to be reliable. And, we've seen the hands come around. He struggled his rookie year with the hands, and now he's proven to be one of the most reliable receivers we have here in year 3. So I'm with you, Clay. I hope we keep him around.
Yeah, and I didn't have plans to do this, but since we were kind of talking a little Romeo Dobbs, I want to pull up the film here real quick. And we got to find that out route, Tim. The out route he ran where he just absolutely annihilates this dude. Let's go sideline all 22. Probably our best shot at finding it. Let's see here. This might be it. I think it is. So you're going to watch up top. I think this is Rome right here, okay? And I want you to watch this out route. This has got to be. This is 23 yards. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. So watch our boy Romeo Dobbs. If this is it, he's going to run an out route, and watch where this DB ends up at. So he's already kind of playing off a little bit, playing off. All right, ball's going to be snapped. Watch Rome come out of his break here. Look at my guy. He put him on the damn ground, Tim. Look at this, dude.
He ran that entire route like he was running a post.
Yeah.
And then at the last second, it's an out route. I mean, even pre-snap, the way he's looking down the line, and then at the snap, like you said, when he comes off on his release, that looks like a post, right? Like he's trying to stay inside. I mean, he baits him outside. It's like he's teasing him, right? Like, I'm going to bait you outside, make it look like I'm going inside, and then I'm running it out.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. It is, because you see right here, he jab steps out, bends inside, give him the little old lay. It's ball game.
That's the old bye, Felicia, right there.
Yeah, right there. I would love to see that, have that shot right there framed of that dude just facing in the opposite direction on his stomach while
yeah. Can you go back a little bit? Go back like a couple seconds here.
Yeah, man.
The thing I love the most is, let's look at Jordan here, if we can see on this. Mm-hmm. So we're going to
play action.
Now watch, no hesitation. Look, this ball's out. It's out already.
Oh yeah, with someone in his face too.
Yep, because he knew Rome was going to cook him, and that's what I talk about when you know. I mean, I'm sure if Jordan was on this pod right now, he may not publicly say it, but I bet you he'd smile if we asked him, "Hey, is Rome one of your favorite targets? One of your most trusted targets? If you're thinking down and distance, where can I go with this football?" One of many, but Rome, man, that guy's just so reliable. Steady Eddie, as we say, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. No doubt about it. But again, just that kind of popped up in my mind as we were talking about. I'm like, man, let's try to find that, because it didn't make chalk talk. And again, it wasn't a play that was like, this was crucial to the game. But boy, it really showcases his ability to break at the top of the stem and obviously put a DB on his face. You love to see it. Speaking of putting people on their faces, this defensive line is starting to wreak some havoc. Green Bay Packers tweeted out, keeping fresh and causing chaos. Quote, "It feels like the defensive line is a whole new wave every single play." You're mixing and matching, Tim. We talked about the snap count. Obviously, if I remember correctly, Kenny Clark is leading the way by a long shot, and everyone else is just kind of mixing and matching, right? I think we got the snaps from that last game. Actually, let's pop it up here real quick. Yeah, so when we look at the defensive line here against the Texans, so yeah, Kenny Clark with 47 snaps, right? And let's focus interior. Well, you know what? We've been playing a little bit of NASCAR package, so let's do the entire defensive line, including the edge. So Kenny Clark, 47 snaps. Rashawn Gary, 38. Kingsley Enagbare, 36. Lucas Van Ness, 35. TJ Slayton, 30. Preston Smith, 28. Carl Brooks, 22. So you've got Kobe Wooden there too with 19. So let's include Kobe right there on the brink of 20 snaps. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different defensive linemen that have right at 20 snaps. Like I said, Kobe Wooden being the only one that didn't crack 20, sitting there at 19. Love the rotation. Love keeping those guys fresh, Tim.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was, Jeff Hafley just trying to figure out, the best combinations and the best ways to utilize these players. And while I do think it's true, I think that's the philosophy. I don't think he's trying to figure out, hey, what's the best consistent lineup I can put out here. I think it's, how do I use TJ Slayton the best way I can use TJ Slayton? And how do I use Kenny Clark to the best of his abilities? And how do I scheme Rashawn in the pass rush? And how do I use Preston Smith off the edge? Do I drop him into coverage? Do I send him? All of these things, it breeds unpredictability. And as a DC, that's what you want. He can and we've seen it in glimpses already. You can dial up any package you want. And if you got the right personnel grouping out there, it's going to work. And we've seen it consistently. And I think as we grind out the rest of this year, it's just going to continue to look better. I truly believe our defense's best football is yet to be played. And it starts up front with these guys. And I'm just excited, especially about guys like, Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt for sure.
I completely agree, man. Completely agree. So obviously we get the Jaguars coming up. NFL Nerd at Nerding on NFL on X tweeted out Packers at the Jaguars Sunday, October 27th, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff. The last Week 8 matchup between these two teams was in 2012, and the Packers won 24-15. I love when they kind of go back in time and show you some of the older games like that, and the outcome and all that good stuff when it comes to a Week 8 matchup. That's how that ended up there against the Jags. Now, a player to watch for this week, and we're going to kind of dive into it a little bit more tomorrow. We're going to do a morning show and an evening show for you guys and gals. PFF Green Bay Packers. Jaden Reed can win from the slot versus the Jaguars. Reed's 377 receiving yards from the slot ranks second among all players this season. He should continue to produce against a Jaguars defense that ranks 29th in yards allowed to slot receivers. We talked about this a couple games ago, and Jaden Reed had a really good game. Tim, I think he's poised to have a breakout game here because it's obvious that Jacksonville are really struggling to cover that slot, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt LaFleur, come on, he's going to be looking to exploit that, right? He's probably way ahead of us on seeing that on tape. And I can't wait to see Bird in some of those sets. I would anticipate maybe less of that motion from him, that late motion, the yo-yo or the zipper motion, whatever you want to call it. I think maybe they just line him up in the slot and let him go. You know what I mean? Just let him cook, as they say, right?
Yeah. And if they do use that motion, obviously the game plan the whole time is going to be to have him lined up in this spot. Now let's just come out pre-snap and bring him over to that spot as opposed to changing the play last second. Hey, you know what? Let's flex you over here in that area. So I think he's got a chance to have a breakout game here. What I would love to see happen, and listen, I'm not overlooking the Jaguars. Again, you guys know how I feel about this. If the Jaguars come out and beat the Packers on Sunday, you're not going to hear me going, I can't believe they lost to the Jaguars. I'm going to be going, hey, this is the freaking National Football League. Now let's break down what happened and why did it happen. It's amazing how the people that are going, the Packers should kill this team, are the same people that are going to be bitching and moaning, crying if they somehow lose this game, right? The reality is last time I heard it was a 3.5-point game. So Let's see if that's changed, actually. I think I've got it right here. I won't put it on the screen, but let's see. 4 now. So the Packers are 4-point favorites. I'm always amazed at how the spread sits like that, and there are some people that are expecting them to win by 15. It's like, what? Do we not watch the rest of the games every week, guys? This happens all the time.
Exactly. And I got a feeling the Packers got to be disciplined, and they can't shoot themselves in the foot like they've been doing these last few weeks and getting away with it. Let's be honest. It hasn't. We've lost the middle 8 how many times, and we've found a way to win the battle, which is great. I don't care if they win by 15 or 4 or 1. It doesn't matter to me. The dub is what goes into the stack column at the end of the day. So I think one of the big things is, we talked about the D-line. We just talked about Jaden Reed here, as a receiver in particular in the slot, exploiting that Jaguars defense. Our O-line's got to be disciplined. We cannot have false starts. We can't have, too many holds. You're going to get a holding penalty. It happens all the time. But you can't have excessive holding, and you can't have lazy offensive line play, and you can't get away from the run too soon. And, you got to be disciplined, because I guess that's what I mean when I say a trap game. I got a feeling, man, if you make enough mistakes against this Jacksonville team, and let's be honest, Packer alumni himself, Doug Peterson, man, that guy's coaching for his career right now.
Absolutely.
He's gonna have these boys tuned up to play against the Packers, and we can't afford to shoot ourselves in the foot. We just can't.
Yeah. And again, you guys know the name of the game. It sounds like a broken record, but got to win the turnover battle, right? Got to control the middle 8. And let's make sure we're leading in explosive plays. Jaden Reed in the slot, obviously, is going to give you your best shot to do that. So let's go to the chat here. AFAM earlier said only one with faster hands than Carl Brooks is Tim at the shrimp buffet line.
Let's go. How about these hands?
Ari Iron Miner in the chat says our defense is getting championship good. I want to say pump the brakes, Iron Miner. But man, listen, you are not lying, sir. You are not lying. The takeaways are just absolutely wild. The run defense now, when you talk about yards per carry allowed, they're now 9th in the league, I believe. So that's a huge, huge advantage. We talk about when we break down their coverage types, right? Obviously, we won't go through all the details there other than cover 3 zones, what they run the majority of the time. But if you look at this far right column here, in EPA per drop back, they are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th best team, actually tied for 5th best with the Chargers at minus 0.05 EPA per drop back from a passing defensive coverage standpoint. So the run defense is looking good. It's top 10. The pass defense is top 5 according to EPA per drop back. And then the points allowed, you're in that top 10. And obviously turnovers, you're in the top 3. You may still be number 1. I think they dropped down to like 2nd or 3rd, if I remember correctly, not getting any turnovers that last game, which that's the other thing, Tim, that gets you so excited about this team is you can go -3 in turnover differential and still win the ball game. Bro, you're always in a game. You're never going to look up at this Packers team and go, yeah, we just don't have a shot today. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and we've seen it time and time again, regardless of, matchup or not, or even how the game's going. We talk about the comeback against Minnesota. We were getting boat raced, let's be honest. But, even me, who can be one of the most negative, doom and gloom, pessimistic guys there is sometimes in a situation like that, even I, as mad as I was watching that game, there was always that voice in my head, like, we ain't out of this yet. There's a lot of ball left. Yep. And lo and behold, they came back and almost stole one. And I think this is the year we continue to get over that hump, and it's never say die mentality. It's just like we talked about with Jordan Love when he throws a pick. You have a short memory. That's like it's like Steph Curry shooting a 3. You miss one, it doesn't mean you stop shooting, right? So I think we have that mentality as a whole, as a team, that we may make mistakes, we may look a little sloppy at times, but at any given moment, man, this defense has the ability to take the ball away, and this offense has the ability to just, blow the roof off the joint. So we're always in every game. I totally agree with that statement.
Yeah. Ron Samuel in the chat. Trevor Lawrence does like to challenge the deep safety. So there's that.
Yes, please, Fabio. Please throw it over the top. Please.
He will throw the ball deep. He is, from what I understand, he's one of the more aggressive quarterbacks in throwing deep in the league. And Doug Peterson likes it. It's amazing how Doug Peterson went from this RPO 5-yard 5-yard route concept heavy offense to now they're trying to take shots down the field. But like Drew D pointed out last week, man, Jacksonville played well last week. They did. So it doesn't matter who you're playing. It matters when you're playing them most of the time. You catch a team when they're hot, anything can happen for sure. Let's see here. I didn't
catch a team with their back against the wall and feeling like they got nothing to lose and everything to prove. So stay on top of your game.
Tim, 2-0 for this in the chat, says praying McManus revenge game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So
the team that they gave up on him, obviously you're going to be going down there and playing against them. So that's really cool. Where are the Jaguars on this defensive list? Let's take a look. Are they dead there?
Oh, they're dead last. Yes. That looks like dead last. You had to move the ticker just to see them.
Man.
Wow.
So they are dead last in EPA per drop back. So obviously just a horrible passing defense. When you talk about what they do, cover one man, there's no surprise there, Tim. They run cover one man. What is that? Second most in the league, and they're right at the very freaking bottom. So they run cover one man 36% of the time. Then they run cover 2 zone 28% of the time. Looks like cover 3 zone 12% of the time. And then you've got cover 4 zone 7% of the time. So that's the defense.
So everything that Jay Money and the boys are perfectly capable of lighting on fire on Sunday, right?
And here's the thing, too. When you play cover one man, think about this now. Conceptually, cover one man, deep safety right down the post. You got your post safety in place. And everyone else is man coverage across the board. When you've got a deep safety, even if you're playing cover one robber or cover one hole, in those cases, you've got deep safety, mid-zone drop, right? It can be a cover one drop or a backer drops into that mid-curl zone.
That's where we get middle field close from, right?
Exactly. And here's the way that you can beat that, too. Think about it. We've showed Keyshawn Nixon playing cover one man perfect, playing with outside technique, funneling it to the middle of the field, right? Because you're trying to you're trying to funnel that shot play right into the hands of the safety. Well, what does Jaden Reed do so well out of the slot? He runs those climb routes, those crossers. So I'm telling you, with a crossing route, especially when you've got a dagger concept, if you've got a 2x2 set, or let's just focus on one side of the field, and you can run a dagger concept. If you go tray or trips and go left, let's say tray or trips left, and you have a dagger concept with that F climb in the middle of it, that deep shot down the seam, or just the go route in that dagger concept, right? That deep shot is going to hold that center field safety in place. And that's what's really going to free up for the crosser. So the reason that crosser is so deadly in our slot cross concept is against cover one man is because they're playing outside technique, but you're not looking to hammer down the seam, and you're occupying that center field safety with that deep play out of the dagger aspect of that trips or tray slot cross dagger combo there. So that's where you get that second window running butt naked through the trailer park there with that climb. That screams Jaden Reed. I'm telling you guys, if you got Jaden Reed on your fantasy teams, this is the week to start him. You're probably starting him every week anyway, and just be ready. If he stays healthy, knock on wood, and everything goes according to plan. Now, here's the thing too: they get paid to scheme too. Everything I just told you about their cover one defense, they know it better than anyone, right? They being the Jaguars, they could switch it up. They could go with a weak side Mabel, to where you're protecting against that cry. And if that's the case, that's where the choice aspect of that climb comes in to maybe turn it into kind of a climb spot play, things like that. So it's going to be fun, man. I think Jordan Love's got an opportunity, though, to really come out and have a big game, man. At least that's what the numbers are showing. And we know, Tim, once that ball kicks off, these numbers don't mean a damn thing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mano a mano, 11 on 11 ball, just another Sunday, right? Any given Sunday. To your point, though, I like what you said about, a different way to look at if they're going to go cover one like that and play middle field close. When you send guys on crossers, or if you send guys with that dagger concept and you got good protection in the pocket, it can look to that defense like you're trying to challenge them over the middle. Yep. And you get that safety or that linebacker to bite. And then by the time Jordan's letting that ball go, you've got Reed streaking across to the flat, and all of a sudden the ball's going to the side where it should be, field side or boundary side, if you're in a middle field close concept. And it's going to be fun to watch Coach LaFleur scheme this up. It really is. I'm hoping, though, that we do lean on the run a little bit in this game. I know we can air that out, but I really feel like leaning on the run a little bit, getting them to be that much more aggressive, maybe add another guy to the box or something. It's going to set up that big play action boot for the bomb to Tuck Norris or Jaden Reed or Scoot or somebody. We love those moments. So it should be fun to watch on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of coming through the film here just to touch to see some of Jaden Reed's bigger plays here. And again, he's cooled off a little bit the last 2 weeks. You could see teams really putting a lot more focus on him. Looks like a NFL Pro has got a little hiccup in it right now. I was going to try to pull up like his week 4 or week 5 highlights and try to find some of his deeper plays and see if a climb is involved there, because it just feels like we do run a lot of climb routes. Yeah, right that's a dig right there. Yeah, that's a perfect example. So, and this play here, I'm going to show this, and then we'll get out of here. I was just planning on doing a 40-minute show here on this Friday afternoon, but I want to show you guys this. We were just talking about the climb route, right? Let me show you where he's going to play the dig in a dagger concept, if I remember correctly, if I've seen this right just now. So on this play here, this was against the Vikings, obviously, earlier in the year. What I want you to key in on is up top. What you've got here is Jaden Reed is actually the number 1, okay? You go from outside in, right? So from left to right, he's the 1. There's the 2. I think it's Christian Watson maybe. And then on this side, it would be the 1, the 2. But focus in on Jaden Reed, because sometimes they'll do a little cheat motion. He'll go to the inside and then run that climb route, right? Well, in this case, they're running a dagger concept, if I remember correctly. So this number 2 is going to go deep, and what Jaden Reed's going to do is run a dig across. Now, what you'll notice is Jaden Reed running that dig across. When he gets to this point, he sees Jordan scrambling, if I remember correctly, and he's going to break it off and go upfield. But here's just another example of how he uses the middle of the field. Jordan drops back, see it unfold, and now he's going to kind of find that space and go. So, again, that's the type of stuff you're going to see if they're in a single high. And if you see here, they're in cover 3. They be in the Vikings, 1 deep, 2 deep, 3 deep. That looks like cover 3. playing a little bit deep here with this backer, but as the play is on, it's kind of that Tampa 2. You see him flip his hips, and now he's going to try to steal off that seam a touch. So this is somewhat turning into a Tampa 2 defense. And now watch the middle just open up for Jaden. I mean, as you see him throwing the hand up too, wide open, man, wide open. Yep. So just look for like those type of concepts, because that started as a middle field close play right there. And I think it kind of ended with more of like a Tampa 2 look. And again, when you're in cover one man, that safety bails out with that dagger, with that deep shot play. Yep. And it's going to leave the middle of the field wide open. So
I totally agree. And Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks are our best weapons in that scenario. And then you got guys like Scoot running that flyer to open things up. It's a thing of beauty. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. The only other thing I want to mention, I've been refreshing here. The injury report don't drop for like another 10 minutes, so you guys keep your ears to X for that. And the last we had heard, Matt LaFleur did say that Quay Walker is still in the concussion protocol. The injury report drops at 3 p.m. Central Time. Bill Huber said Quay Walker remains in the protocol. He did go out to practice today, so that's 2 days in a row. So we should know, Tim. Yeah. I'm almost positive that it will be declared when this injury report drops, whether he's in or out, because it seems like I think there's a Friday cutoff, if I remember correctly, for concussion protocol.
I believe so. Or it's a certain amount of practices, and then that they check you, reevaluate. So I would think if he clears again today, there's a chance that he'd be good to play on Sunday. Now, here's another question though: cleared or not, do you run him out there? We've seen how some of these other backers have played. Do we go ahead and or do you maybe suit him up and you just don't start him, and then you just pepper him in, third or fourth on your depth chart or something? But yeah, definitely my eyes are on Quay right now. One of my dudes since he got to 1265. One of my favorites, a guy that I always root for. So hopefully Quay is good to go. Love to see him out there. But if not, hey, it's for the best, right?
Yep, definitely. And again, I feel good about Eric Wilson being in the lineup. I feel good about Edgerrin Cooper. I think we're going to be just fine. There's no reason to try to rush him back. And the thing with the concussion, can't rush him back, right? He's either going to be good or he's not. It's going to be one of those things. But that's kind of how I see that. It's not something where it's he's still a little bit, a little dizzy from the get. They're so strict on that right now. That he's either going to be completely cleared or not. But we'll see, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, that's it, guys. We will be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So wake up, grab you a cup of diesel, a cup of coffee, and hop in here and we'll talk some more Packers. We'll do the PFF preview. We'll look at some of the next-gen insights, all that good stuff. So everybody have an awesome Friday evening. Be safe out there, all right? If you drink, don't drive, do the watermelon crawl. Now, if you're out having a daddy soda or two, make sure you got you a driver. Everybody, like I said, keep it safe. We're going to go out and watch some high school football. I'm excited about it. Tim, you going out to any high school football, or you gonna take the lady out?
Well, our local squad over here, their season ended last week, so I don't know. We might go watch some other playoff football in our area, but for sure it'll be a great night. Happy Friday, everybody.
I'll tell you where I ended up. I'd end up right up there in 1919 Kitchen and Tap with my face in a bowl of beer cheese soup. That's where I would be. That's just me, though. So, all right. That's it, guys. Appreciate everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning. Help me out here, Tim.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. Listen, if you do go out tonight, make sure your hair don't look like that, all right?
Oh, my gosh. Leave Mel Kiper's nephew out of this, will you?
looks like his illegitimate son there. Allegedly. All right, look, don't sue me, Mel. But all right, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. And go Pack, go.